You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you to the lap of extra mile for today, February 15th, 2024. And Speed Weeks is upon us, and the NASCAR season is right around the corner. And to help me talk about all of this, of course, are my co-hosts, Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward.
What's going on, people?
Well, this will usually be the part where I say if you're listening live to make sure to get your comments and we'll read them during the show. But this is a pre-recorded broadcast this evening because, obviously, if you're listening to this show right now, then that means the Gatorade, good Lord, how old am I? The Blue-Green Vacations duels at Daytona are currently on right now, and we are not going to be on live because obviously we're all watching the duels. So we are recording this a couple of days in the past, which means there's a couple of details about the Daytona 500 field that we do not know yet. Of course, including who is on the pole, but we're going to get into a little bit of that conversation, and you'll get to see if we were right on the poll or were we wrong. We'll talk about that over the next hour, but first, I'm going to welcome in my co-host, Christopher and Michael. Chris, it's been a while since we've heard from you. I know you've been busy with some serious situations at home. Glad that that is all okay and taken care of. I know there was a medical emergency that we're not going to go into. I'm just glad that everything is okay and that the family's doing well.
Thank you. Yeah, busy fall with harvest too, and yeah, it's going to be a pretty busy spring as well. So I'm glad to be back with you guys, though.
Yep, we're glad to have Chris back on. And Michael, you've been here the last couple of weeks, but always glad to hear from you again. This is a splendid surprise because we didn't think we'd hear from much of you at all this year.
Yeah, my new job has got me working from had me working from like I believe 2 to almost midnight.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so I didn't have enough time to it definitely cut into my podcasting schedule. I still don't know what my new schedule is going to be like. I asked for a morning shift so I can have some time to come onto the show with you guys, but we'll see what they do there.
Yeah, hopefully that all works out, and what a lot of people are hoping works out here, which will be on Wednesday. We'll be qualifying for the Daytona 500 as we get the season underway. 42 cars are going to be racing for the 40 spots in the 500, which means 2 cars will go home. And one of those teams, hopefully the situation will have been figured out by the time this goes out. New York Racing. Greg Biffle drove with them in 2022 before that team shut down operations. They're on their way to Daytona, but Greg Biffle is not. He put out a post this morning saying he was not going down due to unpaid contractual obligations from 2022. So, New York Racing, once again, looking for a driver for the 500.
Can I volunteer?
Are you okay with not getting paid? Because I think that's going to be the situation.
That's not with me. I'm just here for the experience.
Yeah. I really don't know what to say about New York Racing. They're one of the newer teams. We thought they were going to go from running about 8 to 10 races to slowly running running a full season, but these are the former owners of Extreme Racing, which if you guys remember back in the day, they actually got their trailer or their truck repossessed during the Atlanta race weekend back in the day when everyone thought the truck was stolen. It was actually a repo, but
wow.
Chris, I'll throw it to you. Does that team even unload to get ready for the Daytona 500?
Hard saying, to be honest with you. I think at the end of the day, they'll be able to find someone to put in that seat. Realistically, I mean, like Michael, someone's going to take it just for the experience. Look for somebody like in like a truck series situation. Why not take a stab at it? You know what I mean? So I think they'll find somebody and Do they make the field? Highly unlikely. But I think they'll unload and give it a whirl. Just because I just think they'll be able to find somebody who's willing to sit in that seat for free.
Well, this is also the second straight year we've had to deal with the fly-by-night operation. Last year, it was the trials and tribulations of the money team. They didn't even have the rear end of that car set up correctly before the duels. Somehow, Connor Daly got into the race, and then it was just one disaster after the other. The money team, from what I understand, did not go down. And Connor Daly, thank God, is not racing for them. And who knows if the money team will be back. So it's troubling, and you hope these teams can figure it out so they can grow. But you look at what happened with Live Fast. They languished in the back of the field. At least they got a $40 million golden parachute to go out on before they stepped back into part-time running. Not so much for TMT and New York Racing because they didn't have charters. So it's going to be difficult for them to figure out a way forward out of this.
Yeah. And who knows if they'll succeed, to be honest with you. I don't know if these small teams that just kind of come and go are not only a product but a victim of the charter system or not. Really hard saying. But
I feel like if you're a new team, you have to start off like maybe at like the truck series or like ARCA. Really get those sponsorships, really get that funding before you take on like Xfinity and the Cup. Because I feel like a lot of these teams come in and they only have like so much money to run the Cup series that they just end up fading away after a short time.
Well, ironically, with what the charter system does, it pushes those teams into the Xfinity and Truck Series. And what you've noticed is the Xfinity and Truck Series fields have kind of grown to where they're actually sending people home every week, while NASCAR, for the most part, it's just the 36 charter cars that go to all the races, mainly because they have to. And it kind of fits because it puts those teams that are not ready for Cup in the lower series where they can either get ready for Cup or just stay there and flourish, or at least be a part of the scenery. But for these teams that just want to go Cup racing, especially with the fact that you might make, a third of what the charter teams get, you got to make that decision on whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze. And it can't be, to be honest.
Yeah, if I was managing a team, I don't think I would risk it.
No.
Like I would just start in like trucks and work my way up.
Or even ARCA, but ARCA has its own issues. And
yeah, it definitely has its own problems.
They went to a COT type car, supposed to cost them money or save them money. It did not work. I think the teams are down to 20? I know they have over 40 that are going to show up at Daytona, but that usually gets cut in half by the time we go to the next ARCA race.
Yeah, money is definitely a factor when it comes to planning a motorsports team.
Yep. And as we get ready, speaking of ARCA, there's a question whether or not we're even going to get the ARCA race in on Saturday, because unfortunately, looking at the early check of the weather, hopefully it is cleared up by the time you guys are listening to this now, but rain is in the forecast. Of course, it's a NASCAR season, so of course it's back. So that means we get to talk about the rain once again. Current trends, 45% chance of rain on Saturday, with most of that rain happening in the afternoon and evening hours. So the Xfinity Series race may get impacted by this. Sunday is where we've really got to watch it, and this is concerning because it was not looking like this earlier. Pretty much from 3 a.m. to 9 p.m., rain chances are at 55% or higher up until 9 p.m. The good news, Monday, only slight chance of showers at around 3, and it's a holiday. So we might be getting another Monday Daytona 500, and if not, it's going to be one of those Daytona 500s where, unfortunately, we're going to be dodging the raindrops all day. And guess what time this race starts? 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
I would have never guessed.
Do you guys think this is going to get shortened again?
I mean, this would usually be the point where I would argue for 12 o'clock start times, but at this point, it doesn't matter. It is a high chance of rain all day. So I'll let it slide this time, but I don't know if we're going to get started, to be honest.
Maybe we'll get a scenario like 2 years ago where you run the race and then it rains in turn one, and then everybody doesn't make it but one guy.
Yep. I think the one thing...
Hopefully it's not Austin Dillon.
Knowing our luck, it will be Austin Dillon. But I'll throw it to Chris. We haven't heard from him in a minute. The one thing about this rain is the fact that this probably puts us in a situation where there's a high probability that we could get a winner outside of the established order just by how random this weather can come in. Now that depends on whether or not we get to 100 laps or not, which, looking at the weather report right now, I don't see us getting there. But if we do get to 100 laps, which is halfway, well, it's either 100 laps or stage 2, whichever one is first, which I think with Daytona, I think lap 100 is in the middle of stage 2. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
Oh, you go ahead, Michael.
Oh no, yeah, it'll definitely be interesting, and I think that'll just make the racing pick up a lot more quicker, like early on, rather than teams playing the long game. What do you think, Chris? I personally don't think teams are going to be playing the long game. I think it's going to be like white knuckle racing from the start.
I guess we'll see a little bit closer to when race time actually is. It's hard saying, but if it's looking like rain is in the forecast, especially we'll kind of have a good idea like Saturday if it's raining and what it's going to look like. But we always say that it's going to be crazy even with the rain, but they end up doing a train and listeners can't see, but air quotes here, follow the leader. It's going to devolve into follow. It's going to devolve into follow the leader.
Yeah.
It always does.
Which is why I'm sorry to cut you. Which is why when I think like, oh, rain is going to affect the race, then I'm just like, okay, if rain's going to affect the race, they're not going to do that as much.
Well, what I would say is that the last year they didn't really get into the lines or to the single file line last year. Maybe only 5 to 10 laps, but most of the race was 2x2 all day. So I can see that happening again. Now, whether or not you're going to be able to make a move, we're going to find out. But someone's going to force something, especially if the weather is coming, and that means we probably get to see a big old $1 million junkyard down there in the grass of turns 1 and 2 or turns 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to give our thoughts on some of the teams in the Cup Series this year as we get ready not only to start the Daytona 500, but start the 2024 season. Sit tight. We'll be right back here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU. I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back here in the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Daryl, Chris, and Michael here with you this evening as we discuss the 2024 NASCAR season getting ready to run in Daytona. Daytona 500 will be on Fox at 3 p.m. on Sunday, weather permitting. And we're going to discuss some of the teams that are going into this season and how we think they're going to do. And we're going to start with Wood Brothers Racing. They've got Harrison Burton behind the wheel, but I'm going to be honest, Harrison has shown me next to nothing since he's been in that car, and he's been there about, 3 years now.
Has it been that long?
It feels like it's been that long. We have not seen a lot of the Kim Cam, when he's leading, because he hasn't led a lot in that Wood Brothers car. Is this the year we start seeing some sort of progress from Harrison?
Hopefully.
I think so, yeah. Sorry
I'm
about that.
No, it's fine. I'm quite content not having the Kim Cam, to be honest with you. I found it to be rather annoying.
It did get kind of overplayed at points.
Like, I don't really care about a driver's mom when half the field doesn't get any screen time at all.
Well, that only seems to be a Fox thing. NBC seems to be a little bit better with it, but Harrison's got to show me something. I don't think he's got to win, but he's got to at least be top tens to prove that he needs to stay in that car. Otherwise, I think the Wood brothers could possibly start looking for greener pastures.
They should have. Who was it a couple of years ago? They should have kept. No, DiBenedetto. They could cut him. I don't care about him.
Yeah, it was DiBenedetto, and then he kind of made everybody mad. And then they had Trevor Bayne before that. Trevor was okay. He just never... He won the Daytona... The worst thing that happened to Trevor Bayne was win the Daytona 500. Because then the expectations of him was way too high after that.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
So we will move on to Front Row Motorsports, the stalwarts of the mid-pack in NASCAR Cup Series racing. But they seem to be trying to move up into that upper echelon. Michael McDowell, Todd Gilliland had some great runs last year. McDowell, the past Daytona 500 winner somehow. This could be the year that this team cements itself as one of the top 4 teams. Stewart-Haas Racing, we have seen, they have slipped off. Penske won the championship, but it wasn't the strongest season for them. The real strongest team for Ford, really, it felt like it was the resurgent, I was about to say Roush Fenway, but Keselowski Roush Fenway Racing. But I think this team could kind of make themselves as the third top 4 team with a couple of good runs.
Actually, Daryl, it's Roush Fenway.
It's RFK. I don't know why I messed that up.
Actually,
don't do it again.
It's preseason for everybody. I don't know why I forgot that. Blame it on the ADHD. But I think Front Row could have a really surprising year, and I think Todd Gilliland could be the key of that. He's kind of had a career renaissance last year.
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to be like good point scorers, maybe even get into the playoffs. I definitely think they're going to be the team that everybody should keep an eye on this year.
Mm-hmm.
Strictly because they had such good performances last year. Like last year, they were definitely up there running with the front runners. So I wouldn't be surprised if they managed to keep that performance this year.
Yeah, it's hard to say about Gilliland's points. You see, he finished the same place as he did in 2022 with 28 points. Did not have a top 5. Had 4 top 10s. Led 0 laps after leading 11 in 2022. But he had better average starts and average finish position compared to 2022. If he can improve on his qualifying, I think Todd will be in a good place. And he'll be one of the drivers that I will be watching during this season. So we'll move on to the next in the list. And that will be, I'm just picking it at random here. Let's go on a Ford team on the other end of the spectrum. Stewart-Haas. Last year was an abject failure.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that one.
I don't think there's any other way to put it but a failure. They, other than Kevin Harvick, the team did not look good. Harvick is gone. They did replace him with Josh Berry. Noah Gragson is in for Eric Almirola. Eric Almirola didn't do much in that car, so it's a lateral move at best right now. Tony Stewart is not happy with this team's performance, and Chase and Ryan Preece, they've been there a while. I think they're the two that they have to win or they're going to be packing their bags.
Yeah, they're definitely in a get a move on type of scenario.
Josh Berry finally getting his first run at in the Cup Series. He's going to have a lot of pressure replacing Kevin Harvick. And then, Chris, there's Noah Gragson. To say he had a horrible year last year is an understatement, and then it was cut short thanks to liking a meme. How do we judge Noah having a successful year? I think step one would be him running all the races.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, it's not a metric that we usually associate with NASCAR. It's something we more associate with Formula One.
Mhm.
But how high is Noah's repair bill at the end of the year? That is what you judge Noah Gragson on this year. What did you spend repairing his car?
Yeah. Him and Legacy Motor Club did not get along. He put a lot of cars in the wall, unfortunately. I think the highlight of that was at Chicago, where I think he stuffed it into the barriers, 5 or 6 times during that race?
He stuffed it into the barrier a lot. And I think, like, if that's a race he
It
wants to
almost
forget,
it almost seems spiteful
yeah.
the amount of times that he completely duffed it.
Mm-hmm.
And what's worse is that every time the camera would pan, it would just be on him. Like, oh yeah, it's a yellow flag. Noah Gregson, another yellow flag. Noah Gregson. It's just like, oh my God, what is going on with you?
Chase Briscoe is going to be the team leader this year with Stewart Haas Racing. You hope
crazy.
You hope that he's learned something to help make those cars faster, but Stewart Haas just had it's almost offensive to the term down year to say they had a down year. They've got to do better in 2024 or heads are going to roll. And then we have the new teams on the block, Trackhouse Racing and 2311. We'll start with Trackhouse. They had a down year, kind of. Or no, by their standards, what they did in 2022, kind of a down year. Daniel Suarez unable to pick up a win last year. Did have 3 top 5s, 10 top 10s, and 1 pole, but it was not the year we were expecting when we all expected Suarez to break out. Meanwhile, Ross Chastain, the beginning of the season, the story of his year was how many times is he going to hit somebody before he starts a fight? Had 2 wins that year, did make the playoffs. Trackhouse is in a weird position because, for me, it feels like they kind of got to find that mojo from 2022 because they lost a little bit in 2023.
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
I feel like I don't want to say like they gotta find a way to get both cars, up there.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they could get both cars up there, consistently, I think they'd be like a force to be reckoned with.
Yes.
But it's like when you have that effect where one guy seems to be doing well and the other is not, it's like it kind of lacks in. It kind of makes you question what needs to change on one side of the garage versus the other.
Yeah, and someone actually asked during the offseason whether or not Suarez's job was in danger. I think that seat is about as rock solid as you can get. One of the owners of that team, Pitbull, only joined the team because Daniel Suarez is there. Suarez has a job as long as he wants it. It's just, can he get back to that 2022? And can he build upon that? Because he had a chance for some wins last year, just couldn't get across the finish line, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And on the other end of the new kids on the block spectrum, of course, is 2311, and they had, without a doubt, a breakout season with Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace, both cars finishing in the top 10 in points. Bubba Wallace, a career year in all but wins last year. 5 top 5s, 10 top 10s, 1 pole, career high in laps led, career high in average start in 12th, career high average finish of 15th. That 23 car, a couple of calls go their way. They're a 2-time winner last year. That team has nothing to hang their head about from last year. That car is going to be a force going into 2023.
Yeah.
Or 2024, sorry.
Definitely towards the end of the season, they found something. because a lot of people thought he was going to be out first round in the playoffs, but they found something and actually managed to get to, what was it, round of 8?
Yeah, round 8.
Yeah, they managed to get to a round of 8, which me and you, Daryl, we wanted the
Oh
best.
no,
We
it
wanted him
wasn't
to get
round
in
of
the
8. It was
next
round of 12. I'm sorry.
round of 12.
Yeah.
We wanted him to make it out of the round, Daryl, but we weren't expecting him to, damn near make it to the round of 8. We weren't expecting that. So I think if they took what they learned last year and the mentality that they had from the end of last year, I think they'll do really well. Especially the 23. The 45, Tyler Reddick, I think they're good. I think they're solid. They just need a little bit extra. But if they can
Yeah.
find more pace in those two cars, they may be a force to be reckoned with.
And Chris, Tyler Reddick also had a consistent year from 2022 to 2023. One less win, but the same amount of top fives. One more top 10, 16 to 15 in 2022. Had the 10 top fives in 2023. 2 poles in 2023 compared to 3 in 2022. Laps led a little bit lower, but the big thing for Tyler, average start 10th, average finish 15th. Those numbers, you don't want to flip those numbers. That average finish, that comes down even a couple of points. He may have been in the championship 4.
Right.
Yeah, he's got sorry. He's got all the potential for a deep playoff run on an annual basis, to be honest with you. Tyler Reddick is definitely proven time and time again in Xfinity Series that he is a force to be reckoned with. And call last year an adjustment or whatever, but he had a pretty good season for being his first with 2311. And I would say that he had a pretty good foundation start, and I expect him to be a perennial winner. If any season he's not at 2 wins, he's not living up to his potential. That's just, I think very highly of Tyler Reddick, though.
Tyler is a very good driver, and he was a great pickup for 2311. And we hope that team continues to grow over the next few years. We'll start next with Team Penske. Ryan Blaney, your defending champion. Joey Logano also had a pretty good year, but the focus is going to be on Austin Cindric. He won the Daytona 500 and hasn't done much since. How does he get it turned around in 2024?
I think he just needed maybe a couple years to maybe develop and try to learn more things about the car. I think maybe this year, hopefully, he'll actually manage to start getting some things done, because even some of the best drivers took a while in the Cup Series to get acclimated to things. So I think it's just a matter of time for him.
He feels like another one of those drivers that won the Daytona 500 and then the expectations went all the way up here when they should have really been down here. And I don't know how he gets over that, because he goes out there, wins the Daytona 500 in his first Cup start, and then nothing much happens that year. Last year, not much went well for him, so he's got to figure it out. I think he will. He's got 2 veteran teammates over there. I think he'll be fine. This next team, though, is an enigma. Hendrick Motorsports. It felt like at the beginning of the year that it was same old, same old. And then they just, by their standards, saying this, they just fell off a cliff competition-wise. None more than Chase Elliott, and he started from the back foot. when he got injured in the skiing accident. But guys, when he took
That
Denny
a nice
Hamlin
time.
out, and that was the end really of his competitive season. Does he get it turned around in 2024?
I would say so. I mean, that injury derailed him. Same thing with Alex Bowman too. Got injured, and it's tough in a race car to come back for it. From being injured, especially with Alex Bowman literally breaking his back. Um, so I would say Chase definitely lost fans last year with just the fact that he quit is just the only way you can put it is he quit. And but Kyle and William obviously had pretty solid seasons. So we'll see. I would expect them to be back at full force. Based on the consensus for nearest the win, it looks like a lot of people have faith in Hendrick to put it on the pole, which is something Rick Hendrick is. He wants to start every season off with the pole at the 500. So we'll find out pretty early on whether this team's going to live up to Rick Hendrick's goals or not. Find out tomorrow.
9 of the last 10 years, Hendrick has led the field to green in the Daytona 500, but they haven't been able to convert many at all of those into wins. Do you think they'll would sacrifice one of those poles to hold the Harley J. Earl trophy?
Yes, but I don't think they view having the pole and finishing and winning is one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I think they wholeheartedly believe that you can have your cake and eat it too, and they are not going to sacrifice qualifying.
And to be fair, if you do qualify up front, you have a less of a probability of getting caught up in the would-be big one. But as we know, the big one can start from anywhere in the Daytona 500. We'll stay with the top teams to Joe Gibbs Racing. You got a couple of veterans there and a couple of new guys, or new, I guess Ty Gibbs is no longer the new guy starting his second season. Him and Christopher Bell joined there by the veterans Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. The question is how really this team is really focused on how the development of that 54 car goes and what step Ty Gibbs takes going forward.
He has a lot of potential to definitely make an impact this season, but he is going against a lot of tough competition this year. So it's really hard to gauge, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
As for Bell and everybody else, I definitely see them with a good chance to win a championship. Bell especially because, in my opinion, he comes so close, just no cigar.
Well, speaking of someone who comes close and no cigar when it comes to championships, Denny Hamlin. Is this finally going to be the year for Hamlin?
I don't know. He started off pretty good so far.
I mean, a lot of people. Go ahead.
We talk about Hendrick being an enigma. Denny Hamlin is the enigma.
Yeah.
A lot of people are starting to put the Mark Martin tab on him, the best to never win a championship. I know he wants to get one, but at this point, he's running out of time. He's in his 40s.
He's not getting younger.
No, he's in his 40s, and we know that eventually he's going to hit a cliff. Like, it is not subtle in NASCAR when you fall off.
I was about to say it's not Formula One. I'm about to say Alonso's 40 and he's still kicking ass.
Yeah.
I would say that Hamlin's got 2 more tries. I think he's got 2 seasons left in him to be competitive and go for it.
I think this is going to be his last. I think this is going to be his last big shot.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if he has a down year this year, you might as well write off next year too.
Yep. And we'll wrap up our brief look at some of the teams in the Cup Series with RCR. Kyle Busch went over there and was really the bellwether cow for that team. Austin Dillon. I can't find the strong enough adjective to talk about just how terrible his 2023 was. And he's going into 2024. He's got a lot to prove because Kyle came over and showed that those cars can win. And looking at the 2022 to 2023 for Austin, almost every statistic down compared to last season. Can he put it back together? The run he was building in 2022, we know he's not going to lose the job, but can he figure out how to be consistent is where I'll start. We won't even get to winning.
Austin Dillon.
Yes.
I don't think that he's going to have a very good year. The last time he won was not recently.
2022. He went winless last year.
Yeah. It was Texas in 2022. I remember because I picked him for nearest the win and my jaw hit the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think compared to Kyle, Austin is definitely the weak link. I think Kyle's going to have another multi-win season. But yeah, Austin he's not talented enough to warrant the ride that he's in. And it doesn't really need to go any further than that.
I tried to hold out hope that maybe Austin would figure it out, but I just don't think he's going to figure it out. The next gen car definitely did not agree with him, and I think that we're just gonna. I think he is what he is by now.
Yeah, there's no surprise left.
So that's our look at some of the teams that are going to be taking part in the Cup Series in 2024. When we come back, we're going to get back into Daytona 500, make our first picks of the year as Nearest the Win gets started. We'll be right back here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Daytona Live.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
And we are back here in the Extra Mile on iSports Radio. Daryl, Chris, and Michael here with you this evening. And it's time to start our favorite game of the year, nearest the win. First picks of the season. As usual, we'll be picking NASCAR, IndyCar, and Formula One. Same rules apply as last year. NASCAR and IndyCar can't pick a driver twice or back-to-back weekends. In Formula One, you can pick a driver unlimited times with caveats, which I'll get to precisely. You must pick every driver at some point during the season, and you can only use
misspeak there, Daryl.
Go ahead.
You have to select one driver from each team, not every driver.
Okay. Wow, that really messed me up last year because I thought we had to use everybody. Okay. So yeah,
no,
have to
use one driver from each team. So effectively, 10 of your picks out of the 24 season is going to be to fulfilling the requirement of picking one driver from each team.
And you can only use the drivers from the top 3 in the constructor standings a maximum of 3 times during the year. So you only get 9 of those. Use them wisely. We start with the Daytona 500. Chris, who'd everybody pick?
All right. So for the opening of the season, we're doing new this year is called the no risk pick, and it's just going to be kind of occasionally done, sprinkled throughout for special things. So we'll probably do the first qualifying for each series will be a no risk pick. But so for the Daytona 500 qualifying, the no risk picks are in just the way that my spreadsheet is set up. I'm just going to read off each pick. So Daryl is going to take Kyle Larson for the pole. I am picking William Byron for pole. Michael is taking Denny Hamlin. Matt White is picking Jimmy Johnson. Marshall Young is picking Alex Bowman. Taryn Rodriguez is taking Austin Dillon. And Jennifer Bryant is taking Brad Keselowski. Now I will do picks for the race. So Daryl is picking Bubba Wallace. I am picking Alex Bowman. Michael Ward is picking Denny Hamlin. Matt White is picking Kyle Busch. Marshall Young is taking Noah Gragson. Taryn Rodriguez is taking Denny Hamlin, and Jennifer Bryant is taking Chase Elliott.
So those are our first picks of the year, and this is always the hardest race to pick because your favorite could be in position, and then the dreaded big one strikes at the end, and everybody gets wiped out. So it'll be interesting to see how this race ends. We'll be posting that link weekly if you want to participate, so make sure you get your picks in before the engines fire on Sunday. Well, that'll do it for this edition of the Extra Mile. Remember, you can Talk to Chris on Twitter at Fiji Sims, Michael at Michael_Wart25, and I'm at DK Jr. 12. Make sure to follow the Extra Mile pages on Twitter and TikTok, and make sure you follow the IE Sports Radio pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok as well. And make sure you check out www.iesportsradio.com. Get in on the forums, buy some merch, check out the IE Sports Radio Hall of Fame, check out any episode of any IE Sports Radio show you may have missed, and more at iesportsradio.com. And of course, you can also get these podcasts wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts of choice. So that'll do it for this edition of the Extra Mile. For Michael and Chris, I'm Daryl. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.